الحمد لله وكفى وسلام على عباده الذين اصطفى أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات أولئك أصحاب الجنة هم فيها خالدون وإذ أخذنا ميثاق بني إسرائيل لا تعبدون إلا الله وبالوالدين إحسانا وذي القربى واليتامى والمساكين وقولوا للناس حسنا وأقيموا الصلاة وآتوا الزكاة ثم توليتم إلا قليلا منكم وأنتم معرضون صدق الله العظيم. In continuation of Ayat number 82 and Ayat number 83 of Surat al-Baqarah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us, وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ أُولَٰئِكَ أَصْحَابُ الْجَنَّةِ. In Ayat number 82, that those who believe, have Iman, وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ, and they do righteous deeds, أُولَٰئِكَ أَصْحَابُ الْجَنَّةِ, these will be the companions of paradise, of Jannah. Iman, when you take it to linguistic form, to the origin of its meaning, then this has the meaning of amana. One is trust, trustworthiness. And the other is the root term in the meaning of aman, security. Having security, having peace. And if you take these two meanings to the linguistic aspect, Iman, on one side it means to be trustworthy, to have an aspect and concept of trust, where you trust someone, you trust something. And the other is the aspect or the meaning of Aman, where you feel secure with some information that is given to you. You have this solace that that information is authentic, it is reliable, it is not some falsehood or some lie. If you take this meaning to the way it is used in the Quran, in the Kalamullah, and in the Deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the way it is used in the Quran and in this religion, in the Deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in Islam, then it gives a meaning that Iman is that when we have trust in the words of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. On one side, that is the amana aspect, the trustworthiness. And we are so secure, we feel so much security and so much peace in the information that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam gave us, that we don't even need proof. Sometimes someone tells us something, the first thing we say is prove it. When it comes to Iman in the words of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, so we don't even need proof. Why? Because throughout his life, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam has proven himself to be the most trustworthy human being. Not only that, his sidq, his trustworthiness, his amana, his level of being trusted was so great that even his enemies trusted him more than these enemies trusted their own friends. The enemies of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, they acknowledged his level of trustworthiness. And when this is the case, as believers, as Muslims, Whatever information that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam has given us, not only is it authentic, but it is so trustworthy that it has even proven the test of time. Where at the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, so the Sahaba radiyallahu anhum, they were able to witness the miracles of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Many things that he told them, they were able to literally witness it. They experienced many of his mu'jizat, of his miracles. Not only that, they witnessed his character, they lived with him, they experienced life with him. But as believers in the 21st century, coming 1400 years after, the Sahaba radiyallahu anhum in that time, the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, we unfortunately have not been given that opportunity to meet Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, to interact with him and to live with him, to witness his level of trustworthiness. But living in this time and age, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, through various means, has proven to us how trustworthy Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam was. On one side, the Kalamullah, the Quran, it makes many predictions and has made many predictions, stating facts that at that time were impossible to prove. But now, with the advancement in technology, with the advancement of human society, with the advancement of human intellect and intelligence, we have found many of those facts and how true those facts are. Much of the Quran, there are portions in the Quran that deal with scientific facts. There are no theories in the Quran. Quran is not science book. Because in science, everything is a theory. The theory of evolution, the theory of Big Bang theory, and everything is theories. And the theory is just formulated until it is proven right or wrong. The Quran doesn't state theories. The Quran states facts. And some of these facts are so amazing that it is impossible for a human being to have known those facts 1400 years ago. Even many of the facts today, we in science are still coming to find how amazing these facts are. At that time, people couldn't even imagine an atom. You go break down to the smallest molecule. They didn't even have any way of determining if atoms existed. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us in the Quran that there are things that are even smaller than an atom. You're talking about an atom. First, you can't even see it. But there are things that are smaller than an atom. مَا أَصْغَرَ مِنْ ذَلِكَ وَلَا أَكْبَرَ إِلَّا فِي كِتَابٍ مُبِينٍ. There's nothing smaller than the atom, or even larger than the atom. Everything is recorded. Now we know there are things that even make the atom. And then there are material that make the material that make the atom, all the way down to now they call string theory. And now they're talking about dimensions, which is another thing the Quran told us about. The various dimensions within this world. They're saying that there's this string theory that connects all of the dimensions. So they made a whole science for it. Quantum physics. And now they're telling us that there are dimensions with other creations. Brother, we already know that. They're called jinnat and jinn. And there's a dimension even more than that, the malaika and angels. But there are many dimensions. The dimension where the Ya'juj and Ma'juj are kept. The dimension where the Dajjal is. Yes, he's alive. Still trying to figure out when he's going to be born. He's in his own dimension. His time will come. He'll come out. There are ways that the creations within the dimensions affect one another. How shaitan affects us. He's a jinn. كَانَ مِنَ الْجِنِّ فَفَسَقَ عَنْ أَمْرِ رَبِّهِ. He's a jinn. So he disobeyed Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But when it comes to shaitan and his friends, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in the Quran, إِنَّهُ يَرَاكُمْ هُوَ وَقَبِيلُهُ مِنْ حَيْثَ لَا تَرَوْنَهُمْ. The shaitan is able to see you, which means he's able to affect you, him and his people, or basically the creation that is like him, from places where you can't even see him. And حَيْثَ لَا تَرَوْنَهُمْ. You're not even able to see him or see them where they're coming from. Not only this, So these dimensions are already mentioned in the Quran. It's a very, very new field in science. They're still trying to grasp it and trying to figure out how they can go from one dimension to the other dimension. I mean, we've destroyed this world enough. Now they want to go destroy the other dimension also. That's why they're trying to go to Mars, because we completely ruined this earth. Now we need to go destroy another planet. Allahu Akbar kabira. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us hidayah. Anyhow, now they have a new theory. I don't know if you read about it. They want to nuke the moon. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. Anyhow, yes, they say they found water on the moon, as if there isn't enough water on earth. Anyhow, how mad we've become. Moving even further, the facts that are mentioned in the Quran, so many. You go into it, it just amazes a person that it was impossible for a human being to be able to know these facts 1400 years ago. Completely impossible. Proving that this is Kalamullah, this is the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There has not been a single fact mentioned in the Quran that has yet to be proven wrong. That's from the Quran. You come to the words of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, how many things he has said that have profound impact, and how true and real those statements were. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he spoke about the ill effects of certain sins in a society when certain conditions will appear. There will be massive disasters. Speaking about, there's one hadith with about 13 or 15 various signs, a very long list. And then at the end of that hadith, it speaks about the effect of those sins being committed in that society. إذا اتخذ الفيء دولا والأمانة مغنما والزكاة مغرما وتعلم لغير الدين. And it's a very, very long hadith. At a time when the Mali Ghanima, people will take it as personal wealth. Trust will be taken as, you got lucky, you won the lottery. And zakah will become a burden. People will gain knowledge for purposes other than the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They'll be trying to make money off of it and get fame for it. وَطَاعَ الرَّجُلُ إِمْرَأَتَهُ وَعَقَّ أُمَّهُ. A man will obey his wife, will disobey his mother. وَأَدْنَى صَدِيقَهُ وَأَقْصَى أَبَاهُ. They'll make all their friends close and will alienate their father. And you start to think that, is he talking about our time? Trust is a rare, gift. To find a trustworthy person, subhanallah. So if you find a trustworthy person, keep him to yourself. Okay? Make sure you make him your friend and keep him to yourself. It's a very, very rare gift now, to find people who have real trustworthiness, that you can trust with everything. Not only that, in this time and age, zakah becomes a burden. They can pay 30, 40, 50, 60% in tax. When it comes to zakah, 2.5%, that's a burden. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. That's one meaning. The other meaning has so many other various. We'll go into those details later. People will gain knowledge for purposes other than the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Everybody will have other ulterior motives for why they're learning the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. People obey their wives. There's nothing wrong with obedience to the wives. But this hadith is talking about in things that are haram. Where a person will know that whatever his family is ordering him, that is haram. And their mothers will be telling them that don't do this, this is haram. So they disobey their mothers and obey their wives. And go back to what we call culture. Wherever our cultures come from. How many things we do in those cultures? Who are we listening to? Not only that, people bring their friends close, alienate their fathers or their parents. Through social media networks, we're able to talk to our friends 10 hours a day, 12 hours a day, all night long. Either it's on chat groups, either it's on social media, or even in the gaming field for those who play games. They play games with their whole team and all their friends. They spend all day with their friends. They make their friends so close, they share all their secrets with their friends. When it comes to their parents, for them to even say salam to their parents is something so awkward, Ask many of the youth. It's a sad reality. Then Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam further said, وَظَهَرَتِ الْأَصْوَاتُ فِي الْمَسَاجِدِ. Loud voices will appear in the houses of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in the masajid. On one side, there are loud voices. Just come for Jum'ah after the salah is done. It's difficult to pray sunnah in many masajid. How loud it becomes. It's as if they have not seen each other for years. Subhanallah. And what are they talking about? All the whole week and all the dunya, things you should not even be discussing in the masjid is going on. That's one meaning. The other meaning, aswat, voices, sounds. MashaAllah, with these cell phones, You say Allahu Akbar and the whole world remembers to call you, you know. Yes. And what are these phones? When they start ringing, what is this? That's what? How many different sounds and voices? And they call them ringtones, tones, whatever you want to call them. These are aswat in the masajid. Subhanallah, many of them even have music. And such music that when you're praying the salah, you can't even focus on your salah. Even worse. Zaharatil aswatu fil masajid. The Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam further told us that a time will come where musical instruments and dancing women will become open. It will become the norm of society. Awkward will be the person who isn't involved in music, doesn't know anything about that. That person will be awkward or outcast of the society. Everyone will be, they will know the names of the singers and the names of the types of music, or I don't know, whatever they call them. They'll know the names of the songs and the words of the, you tell them to read an ayat of the Quran, they will not be able to do it. But you tell them to sing songs, they can tell you 10, 15 songs. That's the society that we live in. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam then further said, وَشُرِبَتِ الْخُمُورِ, wine will be drunk openly. It will be protected by Allah, you know. It will be drinking, it will be just open. Then further, وَلَعَنَ آخِرَ هَذِهِ الْأُمَّةِ أَوَّلَهَا, a time will come where the later generations of this ummah will curse their predecessors. They will curse their predecessors. And this is the problem that we have in our society today. All the youth believe that the people who destroyed their lives is their parents or their grandparents. Talk to the teenagers, you'll be surprised. Any problem they have, first people they blame is their predecessors, their parents, or their grandparents, or their elders. And this person is doing this to me. The whole idea and concept of personal, taking the blame or acknowledging there's something wrong with the person himself, they don't take that. They put that problem on someone else. As a society, we're not talking about individual cases. Yes, we can come and say, oh, there is this one person or two people. Yes, mashallah. But as a society, look at the society. Then Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam further told us in that hadith that وَكَانَ زَعِيمُ الْقَوْمِ أَرْذَلَهُمْ, that the most despicable person will be the leader of the nation. وَصَادَ الْقَبِيلَةَ فَاسِقُهُمْ, and the one in charge of the nation will be the greatest sinner. I don't even know if I need to give any details about this. As this video may go, we're living in a time known as 2019. For those who may see this video many years from now or in the future, please go research the conditions of the leaders of 2019. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. And not one country. Yeah, our country is the most obvious case. Go to the countries of the world. Go to the leaders of the world. Unbelievable things you'll hear. Things that are not normal in society, they'll be normal in their circles. And not only that, yes, there used to be a time where there was a time of shame. They used to hide it. In the past, they were ready to impeach certain presidents for some of the things that ours have done now. It was a cause for impeachment. You go back 20 years ago, the time of, what was his name? Bill Clinton. He did something, and what they were ready to do to him. And now, what has our president done? Things much worse than that. But now it's considered the normal, and even he openly claims it. What have I done wrong? La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. I don't need to go into the detail. وَكَانَ زَعِيمُ الْقَوْمِ أَرْذَلَهُ, the most despicable person with the leader of the people. And the greatest sinner with the made in charge of the nation. And Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he told us all of these signs. And at the end he said, وَآيَاتٍ تَتَابَعْ, there will be many, many other signs you'll see one after the other following. And he said that at that time, فَلْيَنْظُرْ, just wait at that time for رِيحًا حَمْرَاء, for red dust storms. They used to call رِيحًا حَمْرَاء, used to be called tornadoes. You know? It's not normal to have these kind of tornadoes that we have nowadays. So many they touch down, and then how massive they are. وَخَسْفًا وَمَسْخًا وَقَذْفًا, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, wait for deformations. Yes, how many? With all this, what is going on in the science and radiation and disfigurements that are going on. Also with all these wars, what's going on. Not only this, with showers of stones, meteors and meteorites and all this. Time will come where it will become much more than this. And not only that, sinkholes. You'll see many, many sinkholes. And many, many other signs will come one after the other. Other hadith speak about earthquakes increasing, massive damage, there'll be floods. These kind of things will increase in the society. So you look at our society and just look how Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam named these things 1400 years ago. We're seeing them today in our society. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam even told us further, there's a hadith in Sahih Bukhari, how true the words of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam are. It's a very lengthy hadith. When you start reading the Ashratu Sa'ah, the signs of the Day of Judgment, some of these hadiths are so lengthy. But you start reading, you feel like somebody's today telling you what's happening today. It's like much more accurate than the news. تَكْثُرَ الزَّلَازِلُ, earthquakes will increase. وَحَتَّى يَمُرَّ الرَّجُلُ بِقَبْرِ الرَّجُلِ فَيَقُولُ يَا لَيْتَنِي مَكَانًا. A time will come where a man will pass by the grave of another man. He'll pass by a graveyard and he'll say, I wish I was in your place. What is this telling us? Suicides. Go check the suicide rate. And check it amongst the youth. لَا حَوْلَ وَلَا قُوَّةَ إِلَّا بِاللَّهِ. Unbelievable. If you know the numbers, it's so despicable, it's so disgraceful, it's difficult to even talk about it. From what? Or because of what? How could somebody have predicted something like this? The Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam further told us, وَحَتَّى يَتَطَاوَلُ النَّاسُ فِي الْبُنْيَانِ. People will compete with one another in sky-rise buildings. Each country will be trying to outdo the other, you know. And the other hadith it speaks about, if you look at the hadith of Abu Dawood, that the grazing of the grazers of camels, those used to take care of camels, and those who didn't even have sandals, the Bedouins, they will be building sky-rise buildings. Go see Dubai 20 years ago. You see a picture of Dubai 20 years ago, you see a picture of Dubai today, you won't believe that this is the same. Deserts and desert dunes, and all of you check, more advanced in most of the cities. Majority of the buildings over 80, 90 stories. It's unbelievable. Go check Bahrain, go check Qatar, go check even Saudi. One can be shocked. I'm not talking 100 years ago, just go check 20. Take a photo from 20 years ago, take a photo from today. Unbelievable what has happened. Somebody 30 years ago could not have predicted this. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam told us 1400 years ago. This is called Iman. When we say we believe, what do we believe in? We believe in the words of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. How accurate he was. So if he was this trustworthy with his words, as far as Iman goes, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us a practical Quran also. We call that A'mal Salihah. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, whatever he has told us and has shown us in his A'mal, that is A'mal Salihah, that is righteous deeds. Whatever he commanded us to do, we do it. Whatever he forbade us, don't do these things, prohibited us to do this. So this is the effect of Iman and A'mal Salihah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us that whosoever has these two qualities, أُولَٰئِكَ أَصْحَابُ الْجَنَّةِ, these are the companions of Jannah, of paradise. هُمْ فِيهَا خَالِدُونَ, they'll dwell in Jannah for eternity. But there are some qualities that are required. When people ask what are the details of A'mal Salihah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has one sunnah, one qanoon, one system. That system hasn't changed and it doesn't change. To the nations of the past, they were also instructed what is A'mal Salihah. Many things are very similar. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us that don't think it's just you believers. Go to the Bani Israel. So the whole discussion is in the siyaq and sibaq. It is in the context of speaking about the Bani Israel. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us, وَإِذْ أَخَذْنَا مِيثَاقَ بَنِي إِسْرَائِيلِ. Remember the time when we took a covenant from the Bani Israel. What was in that covenant? أَلَّا تَعْبُدُوا إِلَّا اللَّهِ. That you not worship anyone other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The word abd, أَلَّا تَعْبُدُوا إِلَّا اللَّهِ. That you do not show obedience or worship anyone or anything other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There's one thing that needs to be understood. With ibadah, is the person who is worshipping, he becomes a abd, means slave. And this is a concept that needs to be understood. Yes, this is one of those concepts that are very easy to explain in words, but very difficult to understand when you put it into your life. Because it involves both the heart, the psychology, and also the human body. In order to have a abd, a slave, you have to have a rabb, a master. As I said, it's very easy to explain in words. You have to have a Rabb, a master. You cannot have any slave without a master. You cannot have a master without a slave. This was a concept back when slavery was there. It was very easy to understand. Now in the 21st century, we have economic slavery. So you have bosses and CEOs in the companies and everybody else working under them. They call them employees, just so that everybody has rights and feels good. Otherwise, it's the same thing. Of course, the difference is that they pay you. As far as slaves were concerned, they were not paid. But come to slavery, a slave, what we might understand as slavery is very difficult to understand in this time and age. It's been abolished in the society, pretty much throughout the world has been abolished. There are some places very rare, but in general it has been abolished worldwide. Well, when you go to how slaves used to live their life, first of all, a slave did not have his own will. He couldn't go wherever he wanted. He couldn't just get up and go somewhere. It wasn't like that. The slave did not have the right to do anything other than what the master told him to do. The slave didn't have any money. The concept of money was out. You don't have any access to any kind of funds or wealth. And that's out. Unless there was a specific contract you could make with your master for your freedom, and that also was based on how much work you could, make a contract with them, and then you could get out of that slavery. But along with that, the slave even lost their own identity. Generally, the slaves, when they were bought off, that's another thing about slaves. You could sell them in the market like you sell items. And depending on the level of a slave, that would also determine who would buy them, how expensive they were. Not everyone could afford a slave, depending on their level, what kind of slave they were. There were some that had very, very high value based on XYZ reasons. Some slave came from a very high prestigious family before he became a slave. Some slave had a specific skill set other people didn't have, other slaves didn't have. There were some slaves that displayed various kinds of attributes as human beings we see. Some who were very, very intelligent, some who were different in their way they used to see things. Some who were just naturally more handsome or beautiful than the other slaves. So these were things that used to give a slave points. And also, depending on what kind of slave a person kept with him, that would also determine the level of the master. So people in society who are very high up used to carry a specific type of slave. People lower down, they didn't have those kind of slaves. So this is how the society was back when slavery was. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He allowed that system to be there, so that we as Muslims may also understand what being a slave of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala means. There were slaves who used to pride themselves when they were under the employment of a specific type of master. Often at times there were some masters who were very, very prestigious in their society. They're very, very high positions. Very, very wealthy. They used to have plantations and many, many properties. Not only that, the way they used to deal with their slaves, many of them were very just. Not everyone was an oppressor to slaves. Many were very just. And often at times they used to employ specific types of slaves. Those that could earn their trust and were very, very highly intelligent. They used to know how to read, how to write, how to count. Many of them were very, very intelligent slaves. So sometimes the master used to let the slave do things which the master was supposed to do. But that slave was also given some type of kind of mark in case someone asked him, "Oh, you're not supposed to be here." They're either given a ring or some kind of seal they used to show. They had to go to a very important place where slaves were not allowed, but they went to represent their master. So they used to show that seal. Everyone used to back off. "Oh, this is the slave of, oh man, it's the slave of that master." Back off. That's the chief of the tribe, or that's the king of the area. Don't touch this person. And people used to be impressed that if the slave is this skilled, how skilled the master must be. And then many masters used to implore different kinds of favors on their slaves. And the reason I'm explaining all of this is that sometimes we look at being a slave as something derogatory, as something despicable. But come to understand, when we say that we are slaves of Allah, I'm giving you this concept of what that really means. It's not something that is looked down on. If that was the masters of the world doing this for their slaves, and they used to take pride that I am the slave of such and such master, just imagine what being a slave of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala holds. And so it's very, very important to understand this concept. Inshallah, we'll discuss this further. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us understanding and give all of us tawfiq to practice His deen. وَمَا عَلَيْنَا إِلَّا الْبَلَاغُ. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد المرسلين وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم. اللهم نور قلوبنا بالقرآن وزين أخلاقنا بالقرآن ونجنا من النار بالقرآن وادخلنا في الجنة بالقرآن. اللهم اجعل القرآن لنا في الدنيا قرينا وفي القبر مونسا وعلى الصراط نورا وفي الجنة رفيقا ومن النار سترا وحجابا. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. اللهم أحسن عاقبتنا في الأمور كلها وأجرنا من خزي الدنيا وعذاب الآخرة. وصلى الله تعالى على خير خلقه محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. سبحان الله وبحمده سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله